This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for What in the World with. Wait a second, I have to unmute you, and it's not unmuting you. Hold on a second. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
I got it.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Hey guys, this is new technology today.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, we're trying new things here. So hi, Karen. Paul
I,
Seaburn here. I see Rich sneaking in.
yes,
How
you
are you?
I'm doing
I'm
great.
speaking with Karen Hale, the owner and producer owner of NewClevelandRadio.net, producer of What in the World,
You got it. You got it. So,
and loyal co-host.
and it's another Tuesday afternoon.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a nice day. As usual, we have all kind of weird stories. If you're a regular, you'll notice that it's just Karen and myself. John is on hiatus today, so he attempted to sign in, and that's part of all of our technical issues that we're having here. So we'll see him next week with more What in the World of Sports. So I will be filling in for him. I know what he was going to talk about, so and we won't have a problem. I mentioned last week, Karen, that I was going to be on the Kingdom of Nye with Heather Wade. I was on the Kingdom of Nye with Heather Wade from midnight until 4 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. She said it's the funniest thing. She says, "Well, I have a hard time finding guests." And I said, "Well, Heather, try doing it in the afternoon."
That would be helpful. Yeah.
But it's a live show, and it's one of the few live shows on from midnight to 4 that has call in. We had a great time. She has asked me to be a regular on the show, so I'll probably be doing it once a month. So I'm looking forward to it. If anybody is here as a result of the Kingdom of Nye and my appearance there, welcome. I hope you have as good of a time with Karen and myself as Heather and I did. We try as best we can.
Sure.
Yeah. So what am I going to talk about today, Karen? Oh no, I guess you're supposed to ask me that. What am I?
You know.
Okay, unmute. No, wait, we are unmuted. So I've got. Oh, this is wonderful. So I got some local stories. I have a story from Ohio about a blue frog. I don't know if you saw that.
I
Uh,
did. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Oh yeah. Really cool story, and colorful stories today too. And we're going to go to the Alps, to the Italian Alps, where they have pink snow. Not necessarily a good thing. And then we go to Colombia, where they have something that is a delicacy called big butt ants. That's ants, ants, like the little things that you find crawling around in your kitchen.
I had some in my kitchen today. I had to
Yeah.
spray.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, listen in. You might want to eat them,
I'm thinking about it.
or maybe not. I don't know. Then we go to China. If you're having dental issues, from China comes a story of a certain kind of pickle that prevents tooth decay. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to go to we're going to go to England. Crest makes it, I think. We're going to go to England and learn about a vampire slaying kit. So if you're bothered by vampires, we'll talk about the kind of kit that you might be able to get to slay them. If we have, and then we're going to go. We have a local story from Parma, Ohio, my hometown where I was born and raised. John's as well. There's a Bigfoot story from Parma, Ohio. So made the national Bigfoot news. So this is big. This is
John spot him?
what?
I asked if John spotted him. He lives in Parma.
Oh no. That's right. He does live in Parma. No. He lives in North Royalton. His mother lives in Parma.
Oh, okay.
Threw me for a loop there for a minute, Karen. And then so I have a volleyball story for What in the World of Sports, including some volleyball ghost and some very strange trivia. So it should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we'll play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the Co-host. So, as always, Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's what you get at What in the World. This is an hour a week where you can come escape from the political, escape from the business, the bad, the virus, all that other stuff. You won't hear about any of that on What in the World. Instead, you're going to hear weird stories, funny stories. We're going to have a good time talking about them. I hope you have a good time listening to them. And if you do, you know, watch us on YouTube. I don't know. Is there a thing where you can like it or up,
Yeah, you
or
can
thumbs up and all that kind
you
of
can put
stuff?
up nice comments.
Oh, leave nice
Nice
comments. Okay. Yeah. That's especially true for my friends. Leave nice comment, not like the ones you put on Facebook.
right.
Um, so yeah, and we're on YouTube. We're at newclevelandradio.net. Go to newclevelandradio.net, by the way, and visit some of Karen's other podcasts. She has a wide variety of podcasts covering all different subjects, all good, many helpful, therapeutic, many entertaining, musical, comedy, you name it. You find it all at newclevelandradio.net. So I'm certainly glad to be a part of that. So let's get right to it. You're
I'm
obviously
ready.
interested in this blue frog. I know a lot of people are. I got a lot of feedback on it when I talked about a little bit about it on Facebook. So let's get right to it. This story is from Western Ohio. They won't give the exact location because they want to protect the blue frog. They don't want hordes and hordes of people um,
Well, it
going
must be
looking
an
for it.
endangered species.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but yeah. Okay, so this was in Western Ohio. Man caught a rare blue bullfrog, um, and he was told by the park ranger that the reason for it being blue was because it completely lacked a certain skin pigment, which caused it to not be green. So we're going to try and figure that out. But the guy, the ranger stumbled upon him while he's looking for people, and the guy's kissing the frog, like guys are want to do, hoping, as he told the ranger, that it would turn into a beautiful blue princess, like those blue creatures in the Avatar movie.
Wait a second. That's the reverse of the story I used to hear. Female had to kiss the frog to get her prince,
That's
not
right.
the guy kisses the frog to get a princess.
That's right. Hold that thought because
Okay. All
I
right.
because you're right. You're absolutely right. And had you been to rehearsal, you would have known I was going to talk
Oh,
about
that's
that.
right. Right.
So, so it's not a good idea to kiss a blue frog, as you just pointed out. For one thing, not the ones in Ohio, but there are blue frogs in Brazil and in South America that are poisonous. They're called the poison blue dart frog, or blue poison dart frog. Why are they called poison dart? You can figure that out. The natives would catch them, and they have a gland. They would boil them. Not they don't eat them but they boil them. Then they take the liquid and they would put it on their darts and shoot it at probably Europeans, but also animals like monkeys and things like that they want to eat, and they killed them. Kill them. So it's not good. These glands are on the outside. It's not good to kiss a blue frog. So he was making a mistake there. Um, this particular one, if you remember your Crayola crayons, Karen, um, the park ranger said that it was missing a pigment that green frogs normally have. So if you have a blue frog and it's missing something that turns it green, what color would that be?
Yellow.
Oh, very good. All right. You still remember you probably still color, don't you?
No,
There's a lot. That's a big hobby. I was
I
surprised.
know it
That's a
is.
big hobby.
Yep.
So, anyways, yeah, yellow plus blue is green. The ranger said that it had this was a natural, rare but natural thing. It had nothing to do with pollution, nothing to do with anything else. Climate change or anything like that. It's just a rare phenomenon that you could see anywhere. So when you're out walking in the morning past the little ponds in your neighborhood, be looking for these blue frogs.
Hey.
Now, but don't kiss them. And you were right. The original story was about a princess kissing a frog.
Right.
And do you know where that story came from, Karen?
Um, some grandma who wanted her beautiful granddaughter to marry a prince.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, then no. No, worse than that. It comes
Oh,
from it comes from the Brothers Grimm. So you know that the original was a bad story because those guys were Grimm. That
they certainly
the name.
were. Yep.
That's right. So it was originally called the Frog King or the Iron Henry, and written by the Brothers Grimm. In the tale, it was a spoiled princess, so not one who couldn't find a guy, but she was spoiled. She had a gold ball that she was playing with, and it fell into the pond, and she gets all upset about it. So this frog finds it, and he brings it back to her, and she doesn't thank him or anything, typical spoiled princess. And he says, "Hey, hey, hey, wait a minute, if I got a deal for you. If you kiss me, something good will happen." And she doesn't believe him. So he explains to her that this is a real story. A fairy, an angry fairy, was mad at him, and that she turned him into a frog. And the only way he could get out of it was, and this is a little different than the kissing part, is if the princess takes him home, leaves him on her pillow for 3 days, and I think feeds him, which it sounds kind of gross. She probably had to catch flies or something like that.
Most likely.
Yeah, and then he would turn into a prince. So she did. She picked him up, put him in her pocket, I guess, or whatever princesses have to put frogs into, and took him back. And the popular story is that she kissed him, and he turned into a prince, and the spell was broken. So this Iron Henry guy was his butler or his assistant when he would in the old days when he was also a prince. And Iron Henry was called Iron Henry because he was so depressed after the fairy turned the prince into a frog that
My.
it was like he had three iron bands around his heart.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. So how romantic. And even um, they could only be broken when when the frog became a prince again. So the frog became a prince, the bands were broken, Iron Henry was happy, the prince was happy, the princess was happy, apparently her father was happy. Um, the people living I'm sure the flies living at the pond were happy, this prince isn't chasing after him anymore. Uh, so they lived happily ever after. So that's your typical Grimm fairy tale. I thought, although still a little weird, traditionally, the Frog Prince is in all collections of Grimm fairy tale is the first story told. So that that puts it up at the top of the list. And then of course Disney did it, so that legitimizes it. Of course, there probably have been some cartoons versions of it as well, which
I'm
I'm
sure
sure
there
were
could be.
funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now, so this is one of my favorite stories. This just happened today. I had a picture of the blue frog. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't even looking here. Here's a picture of the blue frog. Let's see if I can get it right up to the camera there. So yeah, it's a pretty frog. It really is a gorgeous little creature. Um, I hope there's more. That'd be fun to find them.
Yep.
But kids, don't pick them up.
Don't
This
kick
one
them.
won't hurt. Yeah, don't lick don't lick them. Whatever you do, don't lick them and leave them there because they're not going to turn into a prince anyway. So this one comes from England. For my dear friends down in Texas, Tex Chick and her husband, the high maintenance import, as she refers to him, from England, to make the Queen Elizabeth II, is not making any money as a result of the coronavirus shutdown. Where does the Queen make her money, you may ask, Karen?
Where does she make her money? I ask.
Out of tourism. Yeah, well, nobody's coming to. Yeah, I know. That's what I said to you. Mean that's how she makes her money? Um, like the Queen needs more money. She's got all the crown jewels and all that stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. But she's apparently needs her, her money that she bets on the ponies or whatever she uses her extra money for. She doesn't have any. So get a load of this. Here's how she's making money. There are bushes growing behind Buckingham Palace, mulberry and bay leaf bushes. And she and, of course, people who work for her are picking the leaves and turning them into gin. So they have a still set up somewhere in Buckingham Palace.
She's a bootlegger.
She's a bootlegger, exactly right. Well, I guess typically it's not. I don't think it's illegal. Of
Oh,
course, she is the queen, so she's not really a bootlegger, but she's definitely doing the same thing that bootleggers
right.
do. So it turns out Prince Andrew was the one who found these bushes because he's not allowed to use the front door anymore. So he goes in the back door at Buckingham Palace. And one day he comes in, he says, "Oh, gee, I wonder what those are." And hey, Mom, what are these things? And she says, "Oh, I don't know, but I bet you they'd make good gin." And lo and behold, so this is official Buckingham Palace gin. That's what they call it. And it's supposed to be really good. I think the Queen tried it. Um, the No, I did. I had a picture of her on my Facebook page drinking some gin. So apparently she likes gin. So, uh, but she's she, this is what amazed me. So she is definitely cooking it or making it at home, but not in the bathtub.
Okay.
You don't want to mess up the royal bathtub. So she donated a couple of her giant hats, and I guess they line them with plastic.
Yeah.
They put a hose in and make the gin that way. But this is interesting. The royal dresser, longtime royal dresser, her name is Angela Kelly. In the interview about the gin, they interview her, and she mentions that she uses a mixture of gin and water to clean the queen's diamonds. Apparently, the queen has a huge collection of diamonds, which
Sure she does. Yeah.
she probably could have sold a couple instead of brewing gin, but that's just between us. So she uses this gin and water. So I'm thinking this is an obvious benefit that she gets in return for having to see the queen in her underwear. She gets to do things with gin and water. Have a little gin and water for Angela, a little gin and water for the diamonds, a little more gin and water for Angela, and eventually the diamonds are clean.
Right.
So, have you ever heard that using gin to clean
No.
jewelry?
I mean, I've been told that you can use Windex and
Windex.
you dilute it with water and it cleans diamonds.
Now that's an interesting one. Windex. Wow. Well, you don't want to drink the Windex.
No,
So.
I don't want to drink the Windex.
Is that from personal experience? You haven't tried it, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I haven't drunk it. No, I don't
Oh
drink
no.
it.
Oh,
My jewelry with
I
it.
was gonna. We were gonna take the show to a whole different place with that. Okay. So that's the queen and her gin. So sticking with England for another story, when we moved to Cornwall, which is in the southern part of England, which is where Tex Chick's husband is from, by the way. So I mean, it's a big area. So this is not necessarily the pub that he used to go to, but there's a pub called the Star Inn in Cornwall, and to maintain social distancing amongst its patrons, it has put up electric fences like they put around pastures to keep the cows from wandering away. He said, so, you know, you treat the people like cattle. They don't, according to the management, they don't seem to mind. Nobody's ordering bull shots anymore, which are, tomato juice and vodka. I can't remember what that drink is called. Tomato juice and vodka is
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. Yeah, Bloody Mary. Well, if you make it with beef bouillon, it's called a bull shot.
Oh,
So
okay.
obviously, if I have to explain the joke,
Yeah,
I know we'll edit that out later. So, but really, if you think about it, instead of all these plastic screens that we have installed every place, using an electric fence might be a good idea. Think about this. It will help you spot people who don't respect social distancing. Because if they go too close to the electric fence, they're going to have hair sticking out like buckwheat. And so, hey, they're the electric fence violator. I stay away from them. Something to think
I think
about.
I
I know
think
I,
it
I spend too much time thinking about these things. So
yeah.
let's move on to China. Yeah, I know you're interested in this pickle thing. Pickles from Crest
Well,
preventing.
Richard's gonna be excited because he loves pickles.
Oh, okay. Well, these are specific kind of pickle. They're
Okay.
called Sichuan, not Sichuan, but Sichuan pickle, which I think are cucumbers and squash and some other stuff. So it's like almost like pickled vegetables. Uh, but they've been found to prevent tooth decay in rats, which, yeah, why do we care that rats are getting tooth decay? Um, I don't know. But my thinking is how on earth did they test to see if the rats no longer had tooth decay after eating the pickle? I
Mhm.
could, my poor hygienist, she'd be holding that little rat saying, open wider, wider, turn your head. and and for Rich's benefit, according to this, you have to use Sichuan um, pickles. You can't use like Polish dill
Oh, okay.
because, unfortunately, I don't know if they don't prevent tooth decay, but they also keep your hygienist away because there's way too much garlic in those. They'll be done quick. Turn your head way over there, outside the door. Um, so, anyways, so now we go to Colombia. We're sticking with the food theme here for a second. A popular snack in Colombia, believe it or not, fried and salted, and I'm going to give you the Latin name and then never say it again. Hormigas culonas, which is better known as big butt ants. These are ants, queen ants, that are loaded with eggs. So it looks like they have a big butt sticking up.
Ah,
And apparently, this is a traditional delicacy in Colombia, all over the place. And it only happens during the season when the queens are about to lay eggs. So people go traipsing out into the woods with buckets and gloves on, and they dig up ant hills and dump it into the bucket. Then they take it back. They take it back and uh, fry them and eat them. And they say it tastes like cocaine. I mean, it tastes like, oh, I blew the joke there. It tastes like caviar. If it tastes like caviar, you've been using too much cocaine. That's what it is. You Colombians, stick to one addiction.
right.
And if you like the ants, stick to the big butt ant. The other thing is they're called big butt ants by everybody except big butt ants, who who don't call them that, but they call them, just shut up and pass me those fried buggers. So those fried bugs. So, but they eat them. And believe it or not, this is, you have to peel them. It's like peel and eat shrimp or crawfish. You have to peel these ants first. So these are tiny little things. You have to peel the wings off of them till you get a big enough pile, and then you heat up some oil and you dump them in and you fry them. Um, peeling those little tiny things, to me, it's like opening sunflower seeds.
Right.
It's just too much. Um, and then you know, or pistachio. That's the other one I was thinking of. They're just a lot of work, and I don't think they're worth all that work. Um, but they love them so much there that they have statues, giant statues of these ants in the public squares to salute big butt ants and this delicacy that they are. I don't think anybody's knocking those over because they like them.
Ah,
So, but if there was a statue of broccoli, maybe they'd knock those over.
most likely.
Big butt ants, they like those. Here's the thing, though, that says, well, maybe there's something to this. A kilo, which is 2.2 pounds, 2.2 pounds of fried big butt ants sells for $81. $81
Whoa.
for a 2 pound bag. That's right, $40 a pound. That's more than coffee. That's more than a lot of things.
Yeah.
$40 a pound for these big butt ants. This is not the kind of thing you take when we used to go to the Indians game and sit there like you're eating popcorn or at the movie. Uh, this you order at your finer restaurants. Well, bring me a bag of big
So
butt ants,
so in
garcon.
in Colombia, they eat these big bug ants, and then I understand in parts of Africa they eat crickets.
Oh yeah, yeah. Crickets are very popular. I'd like to try crickets. We have crickets around here, but again, I think you may have to pull the legs off or something.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that you eat the whole thing, and then it becomes, oh geez,
it's a lot of work.
I really want to do that's right. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And a lot of I do cook, and a lot of dishes are a lot of work, but um, they're not tiny. That's my problem with the ants. They're tiny. To me, to get a pile is going to take me hours and hours and hours, and I could have called and had a pizza delivered by then. So, so now this story, excuse me, comes from Parma, Ohio, which is where I was born and raised. Right down the street from here, famous for kielbasi and White Sox and really good people. Nice, still a nice city to live in. And now Bigfoot. So for Mysterious Universe, which is where I'm the editor and head writer, mysteriousuniverse.org, I look through a lot of sites and I look at a lot of Bigfoot sites looking for Bigfoot news. Parma, Ohio pops up in the Bigfoot news today. So here's
Wow.
the news. For the last 3 years, there's been a Bigfoot sighting right about this time in Parma, Ohio. I never heard of that. Reason why? Because it's a Bigfoot 5K race. And they bring a statue and they take it down to the West Creek Park, which is for our local listening, is at Ridgewood Drive and Broadview Road. There's
Okay.
a park over there. There's a creek called the West Creek. I used to play in that creek, by the way, when I lived very near there when I was a kid. Every year for the past 3 years, they've had the Sasquatch 5K run in Parma, Ohio. Never knew this. They bring a Bigfoot in. They have Bigfoot T-shirts. They have Bigfoot prizes. Uh, of course, with the virus, it's been canceled. So instead, they made a big announcement that they're going to have a virtual Sasquatch fun run. Now, how do you do that?
Uh, don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to explain it to you, Karen, in case you're interested in doing it. So you have to download an app or have a Fitbit. I don't have a Fitbit, so I would have to download the app. And if they give the route, you can go to the park on your own and run the route. They gave a couple other routes that are 5 kilometers, that's 3.1 miles long. Or you can run 3.1 miles around your house or wherever it is that you want to go. As long as you run at least 3.1 miles with your app running or your Fitbit on.
Okay.
Once you do that, then you take a picture of the results and you upload it to the site, which is westcreek.org. They have a site called the Virtual Trail Run, little link that you link to, and it tells you what to do from that point, how to load your picture up there. And then, of course, you have to send in $25. Once you do all that, you'll get a bib that you can wear, like the runners wear, with a number on it. On the day of the race, which I believe the official, you're supposed to do it on by July 31st. They have a day designated. You can go and get a T-shirt. So you go there and you pick up the T-shirt. They're going to have somebody dressed up like Bigfoot, not me, but someone else who is handing out the T-shirts. The person who runs the fastest, and of course it's the honor system, and everybody in Parma is honorable. So they do the honor system. The fastest male and female will get a prize of some sort. They're having raffles. So it sounds like a lot of fun. I kind of wish they were having it in the park because I missed it the past 3 years. I'd like to go there and hang out. I think I can still run 3.1 miles, so I would probably participate in and get a T-shirt. So anyway, so that's the Bigfoot story from
Wow.
Parma, Ohio. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I'm zipping through things. trying to find a story that pops Parma. Oh wow, this ought to be fun. And it is fun. It's not necessarily Bigfoot, but that's the way it goes. So while we're on the sports, uh, I was thinking about this the other day, that because of the shutdown, all the summer sports have been canceled, all the school sports have been canceled,
Right.
but a lot of the picnic sports, we're not doing picnics like we did, and uh, even if you weren't into participating in other sports, everybody at a picnic does something. You play badminton, or you play cornhole, or you play volleyball.
Right.
And I thought about volleyball because my neighbor just put up a volleyball net for his two daughters. Now they are on the school volleyball team, so obviously they're antsy to do something, so they're
Right.
out playing volleyball. But they're not holding the beer, like you would at a picnic. They're serious about it. So anyways, I thought, well, volleyball would be a fun sport to take a look at and see if there's any ghost stories, okay, which is what I try to look for when I talk about a sport, something ghostly or something unusual. So I found both. Okay,
Okay.
and this is in honor of our good friend John Dinalo, our co-host, who normally hosts What in the World of Sport. So volleyball dates back to 1895. 1895, this guy, his name was William Morgan. He was a phys ed teacher at a YMCA in Massachusetts, right down the street from where basketball was invented just a couple years before. So this is like a hotbed of new sports in Massachusetts. He comes up with this idea for volleyball. So I'll get to that in a second, but he was also associated with the first ghost. He had a gymnasium where he came up with volleyball. And 2 years almost to the day after he invented volleyball, the kids were playing there and they saw a ghost. So that those are all the details that I have on it, but it's associated with the sport. The second ghost I thought was really interesting. In some competitions, normally a volleyball team consists of 6 players, 3 in the front, 3 in the back, and 2 rows. If by some chance one of them is injured and you have no one on the bench who can fill in, you're allowed to have a ghost player, which is basically nobody. There's a hole, and you play with 5, and you rotate around, and that hole moves along until it gets to the serve. And when the ghost player is at the serve, they obviously can't hit the ball,
Right.
so you default to the other team. But a lot of teams like playing with 5 because that means they're real tall people are in the front row more often than not. So volleyball has a ghost from the very beginning, and they also have ghost players. So now I was thinking the most famous volleyball in history is the volleyball from the movie Castaway, and I'm going to show a picture, and I'm going to ask you if you remember what that volleyball's name was.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. Rich, do you remember the name of the volleyball?
The name, he had a name. Tom Hanks gave
Yes,
him a
I
name.
remember.
What was it?
I can't
Begins
remember.
with a W.
Begins with a W?
Begins with a W. You're a sports person. It has to do with the people who make it.
Oh, Wilson.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I hear a voice from the peanut gallery back there. Wilson, very good, Rich. That's it. You're ahead already in Bluff the co-host. Wilson was his name. That's right. And turns out that they saved some of the props, the prop Wilsons from the movie, and one of them sold at an auction for $18,500. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what the Queen ought to look into that.
Yeah.
The $18,500. Believe it or not, you can buy replicas of Wilson from the Wilson Sporting Good Company on their website. That's the only place where you can buy them. If you want to buy T-shirts and all the other nonsense, you can also get a cool thing like a Wilson volleyball. So now this guy, William Morgan, invented the sport in 1895. He didn't call it volleyball. He called it mintonet, mintonet. And that comes from badminton, okay? Because badminton was a sport before volleyball.
Okay.
He wanted something where you didn't need all that equipment. He had a ball, he had a net already. So he named it after badminton. Too hard to say. The kids didn't like it. Nobody liked it. So somebody said, hey, the ball is kind of volleying back and forth. Why don't we call it ball volley? No, that doesn't sound good. Volleyball. And that's what it became, volleyball. So that's as much, that's the most simplistic answer for the name of a sport I've ever heard. And then the other thing was he had no limit to the number of players on a team. So it was just like at a picnic, hey, yeah, come on, play some. So they weren't allowed to carry a beer with them, but pretty much anybody who was in the YMCA at the time could get on the court and whack the ball back and forth.
Interesting.
I should have called it chaotic volleyball. So they finally figured it out that you really need to reduce the number. So they came up with 6. 6 is a nice manageable number. So as we all always like to say, what really legitimizes a sport is when they have an organization and a commissioner. So sure enough, they have an organization. It's French, or no, it might be Spanish. The Fédération Internationale de Volleyball, FIVB, founded in 1947, so it goes back quite a ways. The first World Championships associated with that held in 1949. They have them for women. Nice to, very soon after it started, they allowed female players, separate teams. 1952 became an Olympic sport in 1964. So it's been around for quite a while, and a very popular Olympic sport. There's variations, beach volleyball, which you've seen on the Olympics. Right. Everybody gets to wear bathing suits, so you want to be in good shape, obviously, and have a good tan. Besides being a good player, played with only 2 people. That was added to the Summer Olympics in 1996. So that's still been around for quite a while too. Now, you may, if you're zipping through ESPN or one of the other sports channels, I do this. I come across college volleyball and I'll watch it for a little while. And I always wondered about this. One player has a different colored jersey than everybody else on their team, the other teammate. That player has a really weird name. They're called the libero, Libero, which is Italian for free. And what they are, they're a defensive player, bless you, a defensive player who is allowed to move around. They're the best defensive player on the team. So when you hear them digging a ball out, that's the person who does it, the libero. They're the digger. They're not allowed to jump higher than the net. So if you see them jumping higher than the net, they get some sort of yellow card or whatever penalty. Yeah, they have to go to the penalty box or they get spanked. I'm not sure on the volleyball rules. So, most people know the rules of volleyball. So I don't want to go into that. But I thought some of the hits, the different hits have interesting names. So one of them is the dink. The dink. So the dink is when everybody jumps up and instead of slamming it down, they just kind of give it a little tap and it just dinks over the net and falls to the ground before anybody can get it. So that's the dink. Another one is the wipe. The wipe. This is where I've seen this happen. You have to learn how to do that. So the person jumps up, but when they hit the ball, instead of aiming it right at an opposing player, like at their head, they aim it to their side so that it deflects off of them and wipes out into the out of bounds. So it's kind of short for wipe out. So you have the dink and you have the wipe. And then you have the slide. So you have the dink, the wipe, and the slide. Sounds like a dance,
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
3 dances that we used to go to. So the slide is where the ball's up in the air and the 2 players look like they're going to jump up at the same time. But instead, the player from behind slides around the front and that player does the hit, and it fakes out allegedly
Everybody.
the other team.
Got
So
it.
they slide around and they hit it. So that's called the slide. So the dink, the wipe, and the slide. There's also the twist, and there's the no, that's a dance. Uh, so this is perfect for picnics. So when you get bored and playing the regular game at a picnic, there's all kind of variations that you can try. These are really good. So one is volleyball. Now I played volleyball a long time ago. That you play that on a racquetball court, and it's basically indoor volleyball. And you can play with two people, and you whack the ball against the wall instead of against the
Okay.
net. Other than that, it's volleyball with, I mean, it's racquetball without a racket. This is an interesting one though, Newcomb ball, and it's spelled either Newcomb or like Newcomb. And in this one, instead of hitting the ball, you catch the ball and then you throw it back over the net. So it's a nice, maybe an easier variation for people who have a hard time hitting the ball. You can play Newcomb. Now, why it's called Newcomb, I'm not sure, but I think they should call it Easium or something because it's easier than hitting the ball. Now, this one is difficult, and it comes from Brazil, so you'll understand why. It's called foot volley. You're not allowed to use your hands or your arms.
Oh my.
Yeah, basically, all these soccer players with nothing better to do, they play volleyball using just their feet and their bodies. Yeah,
I can't
I
imagine.
can't. I know. I can't imagine. I have a hard enough time playing soccer. That's a challenge. So to be able to kick the ball back and forth, and not under the net, but over the net, unbelievable. So now we talked about beach volleyball. There's also snow volleyball for the poor people who don't live near a beach and still want to play their volleyball. And real simple, it's the same rules, two players on each side played in the snow. I don't think you have to wear bathing suits. I think you're allowed to wear snow gear so that you don't freeze your volleyballs off.
That must
Uh,
be tough to be running around and hitting the ball wearing snow gear.
oh yeah, well, if you have mittens on, yeah, no kidding. It's probably a good workout. Um, and believe it or not, it's so competitive. They're considering it for the next Winter Games. So yeah, so that means you got to measure off some snow. You got to well, the Winter Games always have snow, so I'm sure that's not the issue. But and then here's my all-time favorite, Hoover ball. Hoover ball, not named for the vacuum cleaner, but for the president, Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover came up with his variation of volleyball. Get a load of this, Karen. Instead of a volleyball, that little light thing, he played it with a medicine ball.
Oh no.
Yeah, those things are like bowling balls made out of leather. They're extremely heavy. Yeah, he felt that was a way to build intestinal fortitude and rupture your arm muscles. Um, it was scored like volleyball, but instead of hitting it, because that would destroy, you break your hand, you caught the ball and you threw it back. So it was a variation on that sport. Um, and it was physically demanding. He was big on fitness, and believe it or not, it's still played in one place in the country. It's played in West Branch, Iowa, which just so happens to be the hometown of President Hoover or Herbert Hoover. So in honor of him, every year they have a championship, a tournament, and they play Hoover ball. Yeah. I don't.
We
That,
learn.
yeah, that's way too much work, way too dangerous. Um, I don't think that you know that's going to catch on any place else. But so I thought that was some interesting stuff from volleyball. I want to thank John for helping out on that. We'll see him next week. So now here's a sport that I doubt that you've ever played or participated in, Karen, and that's the sport of vampire hunting. And
Oh, this sounds exciting.
very popular sport. It's always in season. You don't need a license. All you need is a vampire, and a vampire hunting kit, which is what we're going to talk about. So
Okay.
this was a news item from England, from the Hanson's Auctioneers, which is a very big auction house in England. They tend to auction antiques and old stuff. Um, uh, this time around, it's currently being held. This antique and collector's auction. They happen to have a vampire slaying kit, and I believe I may have a picture of it here. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Vampire slaying kit that no, I don't. I have a list of. Oh no, there it is. Take a look at it here. So it's a nice box. You know, the box alone is worth something. And there's a gun and then some crucifixes. So we'll talk a little bit about that. You know, how on earth did they come up with this, and does it really kill vampires?
I'm not allowed to have one of those.
I bet they're too dangerous.
Well, no, you have the crucifix in there.
Oh, the crucifix. Oh, that's right. Oh, I little
That's
Hebrew
part
joke
they-
there, little Yiddish joke for us there. So I'm hoping that it comes with a money back guarantee, because I'm going to spend some money on this kit. You better hope that the vampire, I kill the vampire, because otherwise, if I don't, the vampire is going to kill me or
Yeah.
turn me into a vampire. And then if there is a money back guarantee and I'm a vampire, who do they send the money to?
Ghostbusters.
So, how much would you pay for a vampire slaying kit, Karen? Antique. Remember, it's an antique.
$1,192.
Not bad. Double that. The asking price is between $2,500 and $3,750. That's
Wow.
quite a bit, yeah, for a little box. But if you want to make your own, if you can't afford that, we're going to talk about what's in it. So the box alone is beautiful. It's lockable, velvet covered, crimson silk lining the box. You couldn't see it in there, but there was a carved ivory wolf, a wolf made out of ivory with robes, wearing a robe and carrying rosary beads. So it was a carving of a wolf with a rosary. The cap pistol, a real pistol, but it's called a percussion cap pocket pistol, old style pistol. I didn't see any silver bullets, but we'll talk about that in a minute. A vial of an unknown liquid. So I would hope that it was holy water. That's kind of a thing that you would probably want to have. Rosary beads. So, you know, those are always good. 3 crucifixes, you notice those. 2 sets of pliers. I'm not sure what you need the pliers for.
His teeth.
You can't, pull their teeth out if you, hey, hold still, Drac. A pocket knife with a mother of pearl handle and a silver blade. Okay, there's that silver again. A bottle of shark's teeth. Think about that for a second. An 1842 copy of the New Testament and an enamel painting of the resurrection of Jesus. So, and no instructions. So you're free to speculate how to use it. Guys, of course, we don't need instruction. And with vampires, we've seen all the movies. We've read the Anne Rice books. When we were kids, we watched Dark Shadows. We should know how to kill a vampire.
Of course you should.
Yeah. So if you take a look at that kit, what in there could actually kill a vampire? What we know is that the best ways to slay a vampire: wooden stake, that's the big one. Silver bullet, some people say a silver bullet will kill a vampire. Fire is a big one. And exposing them to sunlight is another one. And tearing off their head. So maybe the pliers would come in handy for the tearing off of the head. I don't know about that. If you look at the inventory, you have this little gun with a one-shot gun. Didn't see any silver bullets. Turns out most experts say that silver bullets are for werewolves, not for vampires. Silver bullet won't do any good. And if you watch some of the modern vampire shows and series, they will use firearms, but they tend to use like bazookas and just these massive things that look good on TV or on the big screen. Don't necessarily kill the vampire, but it just looks better. wooden stake is still number one, according to Anne Rice. The other stuff doesn't really kill vampires. Holy water, it burns them, but the bottle wasn't labeled holy water. So you'd have to buy the kit and then throw it at a vampire and see what happened. And if nothing happened, get a refund, but might be too late. The shark's teeth. What on earth are shark's teeth doing? My only thought was what you do is you stick them in your mouth and maybe you fool the vampire into thinking that you're a vampire.
Yeah, that's
And then they get close enough that you can grab them with the pliers and try to pry their head off. The knife, okay, not a wooden stake, but a knife. It was silver. It'd be awfully hard to use a pocket knife to cut the vampire's head off. So I'm not sure what the knife was doing in there either. To me, this whole thing would just make the vampire angrier. What are you doing? But yet it's called a vampire slaying kit, and it's allegedly legitimate. It had an old New Testament in there, 1842. So you might think, oh, well, then the kit must be from 1842 or somewhere in that general time frame. The auction house wouldn't say, okay? So, but one of my favorite websites, Snopes, did, and Snopes likes to look things up and debunk them. So it turns out there's no such thing, according to Snopes, as a vampire slaying kit. This was something that was invented in the 1960s and 70s when Dark Shadows and some of the other vampire movies were becoming popular. And what they did was they made these kits and made them to look like they were old and sold them as vampire slaying kits. So doesn't even work.
That's like fake news.
That's exactly right. But we're exposing the fake news. It's real news about fake stuff. How's that?
Yeah.
So it's not worth $2,500. Even the box didn't look like it was worth $2,500. But they called it a conversation piece. I said, okay, well, if you've been locked up this long, maybe you have run out of things to talk about, and you can talk about how you wasted $2,500 on this thing that's not going to kill any vampire. And you better hope that whoever it is you're talking to isn't a vampire, because then they just found out that you wasted money on something that's not going to kill them. They'll be over before you're finished talking. They'll be whapping on the window. So the only thing left is to make sure you have a skylight, which would keep you exposed to sunlight and protect you, or a flamethrower, because they definitely are afraid of fire. Or maybe both, maybe you can have a combination, flamethrower, skylight, you name it. If I know that I'm being attacked by vampires, I'm gonna load up. I'm gonna iron. I'm gonna arm myself to the teeth with wooden stakes and whatever else I need.
I'm gonna get you one of these kits.
Oh. So I want to do this. I had one little trivia segment on the pink snow in the Alps. So pink snow falls in the Alps. Colored snow is always a bad thing. Snow is white, period. If it's not white, there's something bad going on, and you need to find out what it is and run away. And my favorite, non-white snow is yellow snow. And who made yellow snow famous besides dogs? Frank Zappa. Watch out where the Huskies go. Don't you eat that yellow snow. Famous, one of his most famous songs. Sadly, because he was such a talented musician, and that's what he gets remembered for, the Yellow Snow song. Turns out it was one he had only 2 Billboard hits. That was one, and Valley Girl, which he sang with his daughter, was the other. But this was from his album Apostrophe, 1974 album, early in his career. And it was part of a suite of Eskimo songs. So the first one was Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, which was about an Eskimo named Nanook who was going out, and his mother warns him, don't eat the yellow snow from the Huskies. Okay. The next song was called Nanook Rubs It. So in yeah, they're all related. So Nanook goes out and he meets a hunter who is striking his favorite seal, baby seal, you know what he's going to do with it. He wants the fur. So Nanook takes some yellow snow. He called it husky wee wee in the song, and he rubs it in the eyes of the hunter, causing him to stop abusing his seal and run away. Okay, so there's song number 2. Then the next song is Saint Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast. So in this song, the hunter runs to the local Catholic church, St. Alfonso's, where there's a pancake breakfast going on. And he breaks in and he disrupts the breakfast because he has husky wee wee in his eyes. So one of the things he does to disrupt the breakfast is he himself wee wees all over the bingo card, which is a huge sin in a Catholic church. That's the last thing you want to do is deface the bingo cards, which brings to the song number 4, which is Father Oblivion. That was the priest's name, nice Irish name, Oblivion, who was making the pancakes. So that's how he ties the whole thing together. And apparently the priest brings the whole thing to a conclusion. But he says one thing in Latin for any of my altar boy friends who were out there. During the song, he sings, Dominus vobiscum et cum spiritu tuo. Won't you eat my sleazy pancakes just for saintly Alfonso? So yeah, so I love Frank Zappa. That's my salute to Frank Zappa. A wonderful guy, very talented. Died far too soon, and he should be known for far more than the Yellow Snow song. So that was my salute to Frank Zappa. Okay, so we've reached the point where we play Bluff the Co-Host.
Yes, we do.
Everybody's favorite weird news game. Here's how it's played. I will read 3 stories similar to the ones that we have. I've been reading. The difference is that one or more of these may be a bluff. They may be true. They may be a bluff. It's up to Karen and John. Were he here? I don't know if Richard's in the background there. He can play along as well.
Play, Rich?
Sure. I'll
Okay, he'll play.
Okay, and I'll be playing for John, so I'll be sending his answers in as well.
Okay.
So let's get right to, let's see how John does. Here we go.
Okay.
Hands on the buzzer, story number 1. A man in Texas who wanted to change his name to a famous movie character in his all-time favorite movies, but he couldn't decide which character, decided instead to legally change his name to Dumb N. Dumber, in honor of the film of the same name starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels as Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn. Didn't change his names to those, changed his name to Dumb N. Dumber.
Okay.
The man proudly bragged that both characters remind him of himself. And it turns out his wife agrees with him. Go figure. Because even though he surprised her with this name change, she can still wear the t-shirt that she always wore, which has an arrow on it pointing to her husband that reads, I'm with Dummy. Fortunately, this couple has no children. So, is this the man who legally changes his name to Dumb and Dumber real or a bluff? Aaron, we'll start with you.
I have to say it's real. I think it's so stupid. But, you said this guy was from Texas. No offense to my Texas friend. It's something a stupid Texan would do.
You think so? Oh, that's redundant.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm the one who said that.
Rich, what do you
Okay,
think?
so Karen says it's real. Rich, what do you think?
I'll say it's real.
Oh, Rich says it's real. I'm going to vote for John, and I'm going to say that John said it's real, which means that all 3 of you are wrong at the bluff.
Oh, my. Oh.
Pretty creative. I take pleasure in that one. So it's so far no one's got any points.
Oh.
Move on to story number 2. Despite her city being a long way from the wild, wild west, the mayor of Chicago is using a man dressed as a cowboy to ride through neighborhoods and convince residents to fill out the census forms and to answer the door when census workers show up for personal interviews. The census cowboy, as he's called, will ride a real horse, wear a mask, of course, and carry a flag, but not a gun. However, anyone who tries to mess with him should be warned that the census cowboy is actually a former professional boxer, and he doesn't care if you're a Cubs or a White Sox fan, as long as you answer the damn question. So, the census form assistant for the mayor of Chicago calls himself the census cowboy, riding through Polish neighborhoods in Chicago, trying to convince people to fill out their forms. What do you think, Karen? Real or a
Mayor
bluff?
is the census cowboy?
No, he's the assistant to the mayor.
He's assistant to the mayor, right?
Assistants to the mayor.
Yeah.
Assistant, right? Professional boxer, calls himself the census cowboy, rides through town, saying, "Hi ho, census."
Okay, Rich, you go first.
That's too far out for me. I gotta go no.
I
Too
have to,
far out.
yeah, I
Okay.
have to agree with him. That's a no.
Two. So instead of being, it's so strange it has to be real, this one is this so strange it can't be real.
Right.
Well, okay, I'm gonna have John vote with the two of you. So that means three of you say it's a bluff, and all three of you are wrong again. That's the actual truth. The census cowboy is a real thing in
Oh,
Chicago. Yeah.
Me,
Look for him, look for it on the news because so I don't know if it would work around here, but it apparently the mayor thinks it'll work there. So
I should ask my son because he lives in Chicago.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, oh, I thought you were going to tell him to apply for the job.
No, 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 no. He's busy.
He's got a good job. There
There
you
you
go. Okay. All right. Well, here's your chance.
Okay.
We doubled in round number 3. So let's see how you do. Here's the next story. British sports fans desperate for any kind of sports during the pandemic shutdown, even American baseball, have decided to settle for a sport called demolition derbies. Like the real demolition derby, but with a decidedly British twist. The sport is a variation of frisbee golf, but played by throwing proper English derbies rather than plastic disc. The scoring is similar to golf, where the fewest throws needed to toss the derby into a big bucket wins the hole, but with the added thrill of allowing other players to attempt to knock the flying derbies out of the air by throwing their own derbies at them, hence the demolition. Not surprisingly, demolition derbies was invented at a pub, but has quickly caught on in England, and there are now professional leagues and a TV contract is in the works. So, the British sport, brand new sport for the lockdown called demolition derbies. Like frisbee golf, only played with derbies, like demolition derby, except you throw derbies at other derbies.
we're gonna have
and they love it.
called Top Hat Derby.
Top Hat Derby.
Yeah.
Top hat derby, yeah. Well,
Wow.
no, that would be
Well,
demolition top hat.
should they be even playing this because they're still sort of in lockdown.
They're wearing masks.
Oh, they're wearing. No, I'm going to say false. I'm sorry.
Oh, Karen, oh, you're starting to get suspicious of me here.
Yeah.
How about Rich? What do you think?
I'm gonna say it's real.
Real? Would you play?
No, I'm not good with derbies.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say that John would have voted with Rich, so you can figure out right now.
I
Karen
won.
got it right. That's right. That's a bluff.
Oh!
There's no such thing as demolition derby, but it does sound like it would be fun. Derbies are expensive hats, but other than that,
Oh, again,
demolition derbies.
I beat him last week. I
Yes.
told him he could, win this week, but I'm sorry, John.
Sorry, John. Better luck next time. Next time, show up for the show, John.
Uh, well,
No, we pick on him, but we're looking forward to him coming back next week. I hope he resolves all the problems that he was having with his computer and other technical issues. So, anyways, we've come to the end of another What in the World. Interesting stories today, lots of fun. Um, real news, sometimes strange, always funny. It was all real news except for Bluff, the co-host. And we're here every week on Tuesdays at 3:30 live. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you're watching a recording of us sometime in the future, thank you for watching there. You can go to newclevelandradio.net and find out how to listen to us. I forget what all the platforms are, but you name it. Pick a platform, we're on it. Go to newclevelandradio.net. It explains everything. And
well,
I want to thank Karen, my mogul of a producer and newclevelandradio.net podcasting guru for all she does and for the great other shows she puts on. And Rich, Sight Unseen, thanks for being there and thanks for helping out as always.
well, everybody have a great day. Enjoy the hot, humid weather that is all across the nation. And
Wait,
see you all next week.
wear a mask, wash your hands, and yep, see you next week. Bye bye.